Hello, everyone, from the Allenberry Resort in Boiling Springs, Pennsylvania. Uh, we're going to talk about week 14 on the trail. Actually, this is going to be a double feature episode because not only are we going to talk about week 14, miles, mileage, money, milestones, we're also going to talk about hitting the halfway point and what the money, miles, and budget looks like halfway there. For those of you who are patiently waiting for that and wanting to see spreadsheets and charts and things like that, sorry, it's just not going to happen. But I'll spew out the numbers and you can see where we are, and we'll go from there. So, this week represents June 21st through the 27th. And we started in Harper's Ferry and ended in Boiling Springs, Pennsylvania. So mile 1023.1 to 1122 for a total of 98.1 miles hiked this week. Boiling Springs is a really quaint town. We had breakfast this morning at Cafe, what was it called? Cafe 101, highly recommended. The Allenberry Resort, on the other hand, we cannot recommend. Number one, it's very expensive. It's changed ownership recently, I guess, in the past year. And they used to be hiker friendly with a hiker rate and a little bit more basic. It is no longer, I can't say it's hiker friendly. I would say it's quite expensive. We had packages sit here before we knew all this. So we kept our reservations. But I think the room's like $150. In AWOL's book, it says they have laundry. I asked about laundry. Oh, no, we don't do that anymore. I could have the maids do it for you. That'll be $15. Okay, so they don't do laundry, which is a hiker staple. Obviously, $150 is about 3 or 4 times what a hiker really wants to spend on a room. The bed's nice. It's a nice king-size bed. It's comfortable. The amenities are nice, but they're still under construction here. There's banging going on. And we just don't get the feel-good hiker-friendly vibe here. So anyway, take that for what it's worth. That's our experience. So on with the show. So including today's stay at the Allenberry, we spent a total of $282 on accommodations this week. For resupply, thanks to Darwin on the trail, Darwin and Snuggle sent us a huge resupply package. We've only spent $37 on resupply because we didn't really need a whole lot more, just a couple days worth past what they sent us. In-town food, we did need plenty of that, and we spent plenty. So we spent $208 on in-town food. When we get to the breakdown for the halfway point, you'll notice where we can save some money moving forward, and I think in-town food is right there. Last week when I did the breakdown, the weekly wrap-up, I forgot to put a $9 taxi in that we took. So in the other category, we have a $9 taxi, $4 for showers, and $13 for postage for $26. The showers were yesterday. When we got into Boiling Springs, we actually tented just outside the town. And if we were really into saving money, we would have just stayed there. But we didn't. We had packages sit here, and we're here. However, at the swimming pool, which is just, I don't know, a quarter mile away, you can go in there, pay them $2, and use their showers. You need your own soap and your own shampoo, which we carry a little travel size of those anyway, just for those situations. So we got clean before we went to dinner last night with a friend, Tom Willard. So Good tip for Boiling Springs: just tent right outside the town. You can walk to get a shower, then walk straight to town, and it's about a half mile to town total from the tenting site. The tenting site is right next to a railroad, and they run the trains at night. So probably 5 railroads or train cars came by during the night, and it was loud. But man, the weather was cool, and I slept right through it. I think Chica slept okay too. Okay, so the total of all those expenses was $553. And like I said, we walked 98.1 miles. So the breakdown is like this: $5.63 per mile, or broken down between the two of us per person, it's $2.81, bringing the total we've spent so far in 14 weeks $5,864 over 1,122 miles for a total of 522 per mile, or 261 per person. We went up a penny from last week. Okay, so that's the money. Let's hit the milestones. We crossed West Virginia off our list. We walked it down, all 7 miles of it. We walked Maryland down, so now we're in Pennsylvania. We got to the real halfway mark. West Virginia, Harper's Ferry. Everybody talks about that being the halfway mark. No, you got to walk 90 more miles before you get to the real halfway mark. So there is nothing halfway about Harper's Ferry.
It's a traditional halfway.
Chica thinks that my my annoyance of that is misplaced, but it is not. It is not any. It's not the psychological halfway mark. It's not the traditional. It's not anything. It is Harper's Ferry, and it's 90 miles away from the halfway mark.
Is somebody stubborn?
I am stubborn. Okay, and our final milestone is we did a marathon day. We did 26.4 miles. Marathon obviously is 26.2, so we did over a marathon day. And that was just kind of on a lark. When we started, we wanted to have one day where we did a marathon. It could be anywhere. And the moon and stars aligned and gave us the perfect opportunity. We were feeling good. We were healthy. The weather was perfect, about 70 degrees. The terrain was flat and rockless for the most part. And so we knocked it out. And taking out breaks and lunches, we did 26.6 miles in about 10 hours, which is really fast for us. And I know this is not a race, and I know huge mileage isn't the strategy here, but it's something we wanted to do, and we did it. And so now we're back to our 18 to 20 mile days. Okay, so 2 weeks ago I got asked a question about from Terry Case about interactions with negative people on the trail. Had we had any experiences that left us scratching our heads or left us anxious, I guess? And I can only think of one. And this just happened recently, maybe 2 weeks ago. So we get into camp, and it was a camp by a river. There was a lot of people there, and we go into camp, and we take a left, and we're looking at the tenting sites, and we see this perfect tent site. It was flat, big enough for our 3-person tent. The river was right below it with a beautiful sound. So we set down our packs. I pull out my tent. As soon as I pull out my tent, a short little bearded man comes down the hill from the shelter and says, "I'm putting my tent right there." And Chica and I look at each other and go, "Okay." I said, "Well, you guys don't know me real well, but in these situations, I tend to be a smartass, and it really drives Chica crazy because I can kind of escalate things sometimes. And so I said, in a nice way, I said, normally, if someone wants to save a tent site, they put their backpack down. And the guy mumbles something like, I know what it means to be disappointed. And then his body posture and looking into his eyes, I knew this was going to escalate very quickly into something really ugly. So I said, you know what, man? It's your spot. We'll go find something else. So that's really the only negative experience we've had. The guy was apparently seems like he was working through some mental issues, I think. So he got a wonderful campsite, and ours was just fine too. So that's the only weird interaction we've had with someone on the trail. We've heard some other stories, but that's the only personal thing we have. Okay, so let's talk about our halfway point stats, if I can pull up the right sheet. Okay, so it took us 96 days to go 1,094.9 miles to the halfway point. In that time, we spent $5,546. Broken down per day, that is $57.77 per day, or $28.89 per day per person. Okay. Broken down per mile, that's $5.28 per person. Per mile, or $2.64 per person. So that is a little bit over budget, just by maybe $500. So we do have some room to improve, but we're not overly concerned about it. We've got some plans in place to improve upon and to hit our budget. Our budget isn't. We don't need to be really far below it. We just want to hit it. And someone commented recently, and I'm going to reiterate that our budget isn't the on the cheap budget. It is not the just out of college or just before college. I need to just be on the trail, and I'm going to do it as cheap as possible budget. This is a budget that allows us to stay in some motels, some hostels, go out to dinner once or twice or 4 or 5 times a week, have a beer with dinner, have a glass of wine with dinner, and not really stress about what we spend on resupply and eating just ramen noodles. We can have some almonds as well in our resupply. So it is not the strict budget. In fact, people do what we're doing, on $1,000 a month for a couple, or $500 a month for a single person. That's just not how we wanted to do it. We started planning this 2 years back, and we said, this is the type of hike we want. And so we worked backwards from the type of hike we wanted to arrive at our budget, and we had 2 years to save for that. And so that's what we're hiking now. So for those interested in statistics, I'll break down where we spent the money. Okay. So the top of the list is in-town food. In-town food includes going out to dinner. It includes filling up the refrigerator if we stay in a motel or a hostel that has a refrigerator. So that might be chips and pizza and beer or soft drinks, things like that. So it's not just going out to eat. It's anything that we spend while we're in town. So we spent $2,115 on that line item. That is our top line item, and that's where we can make some improvement if we want to. That represents 38.2% of our expenditure. Next in line is accommodations. We spent $1,775 on accommodations. That includes hostels, motel rooms, and the one time we paid for a tent site. That represents 31.9% of the total. The next category is resupply. We spent $1,033 on resupply, and that's self-explanatory. That's 18.5% of our budget. Next up is gear and repair. $351 on that. We made some adjustments to rain gear. We've had to have a couple things replaced and repaired, and that's what all that represents. 6.3% of the total spent during the first half of the hike. Next, transportation. We spent $95 in transportation. This includes shuttles, a taxi. It also includes the couple times where, and the majority of this is the couple times we slack packed. Slack packing is very expensive. I think $70 of that 95 is slack packing fees. The 3 times we slack pack. The rest is just, we're not calling up shuttle services very frequently because they can be very expensive. Typically, when we talk about shuttles, we talk about a bus that goes into town for like $3. Like in Franklin, it's $3 from the trailhead to town. Or where else? There's a couple others that are like that. Fontana Dam, it's $2 from Fontana Village to the shelter. And then we did take a taxi one time recently that was $9 because we had no other way to get to the trail. Okay, next is other. That was $40, and that represents 2 passes in the Smoky Mountain National Park. You have to pay for permits. They're $20 a piece. I had no other place to put that, so I put it in the other category. So that equals 0.7 of our total. And then the last one is postage. Oh, sorry. Postage is actually more than the other, but that's neither here or there. $137 in postage. That's both for having stuff sent to us that Jen's mom is managing. Thank you so much, Mary. And that's also us sending stuff back home that either is cold weather gear that we don't need anymore, or that we've replaced it with something else, and we've sent stuff home. So the postage equals 2.4. So that means we spent $5,564, and those are all the categories. So I hope this has been informative. It'll be interesting to see how the second half lines up. And once again, sorry about no charts and graphs. It's really hard to do on a smartphone. If I had my computer, it might be a little bit easier. But once again, thanks for watching. Share this video if you think others might find it informative. Our budget and what a couple who are having a kind of a higher than average expense on the trail looks like. Give it a thumbs up if you like. Give it a thumbs down if you don't. And like our page, or if you want to see more videos. Otherwise, we'll see you next week, and Chica will see you soon. Bye.